Okay, so we are going to be continuing our look at some examples of these certifications that have the Dan level. Before, in the previous video, we looked at multiple certifications that have up to the 9th Dan, or sorry, the 10th Dan level, and this time we're going to be looking at some that have the 9th Dan level, 8th Dan level, and there was actually one I found that has the 7th Dan level as some major examples of that. And there are going to be some certifications that I don't have on here, but these are probably like the biggest ones for each type of these dans. And not everything here is actually like a big sport or event or anything by any means, but they are some of the more famous ones. Like obviously, Taekwondo is, it's an Olympic sport. It's not originally Japanese, of course, but it is also in Japan, and Japan uses a certification level for that goes up to the 9th Dan. So let's just take a quick look. We have Renju, which is Renju. How would you even describe that? It is kind of like a version of Go. I don't think I've ever actually played it, maybe. Um, so, but it is also, it has up to the 9th Dan here. And over here, a little further to the side, as you can see, we actually have the GoPro sounds something else, and the amateur Go. So Renju and these are, I think, maybe related. Again, I'm not familiar with Renju. We could look into that at some point. But this one, so it goes Shodan to 9th Dan, and then before that, we have level 16 through level 1. So there's 16 levels, and then another 9 levels on top of that. So that's 25 levels of ninja that you could possibly do. Then Taekwondo begins at level 9, it seems, and goes all the way up to 9th Dan. And I don't think there's any sub levels, so that would make it 18 levels. And then there's like the master title that you can get. But again, with most of these master titles or whatever, they're not necessarily above the highest Dan. They might come with it. Some of them you might get before. Some of them might be completely unrelated conditions to achieve. Next, we have Shaolin. So this is they have all those soccer movies with Shaolin soccer. I think that's what it would be. Sort of the Chinese martial art here. So in Japan, we have that up to 9th Dan as well, which starts at level 8, apparently. So as you can see, again, we're sort of going less and less levels in total. So 8 to 9. So 17 levels. And then there's Othello, I guess you said Othello. So that is again a 9th Dan, and it starts at level 7. So that's 16 levels for Othello. And then we have Shogi, the Pro League. So Shogi is kind of like a version of chess. I actually have a Shogi board around here somewhere. It's well, I say it's kind of like chess. It might actually be older than chess. I mean, that's my understanding anyway. It's like a Japanese version of chess. You'll see Shikamaru and his father playing it in Naruto, and also with his teacher Asuma or whatever. Anyway, it's I used to play this quite often too. I don't have anybody to play with, so I don't know how good I would be. But and I think to actually get anything in the pro league, you actually have to become a pro before you can even go for the like level 7 down here. So, and I think to get to the to become a pro, right? So all the way down here, I think to get to become a pro, you have to have some sort of recommendation or something, which let's just skip over here to the amateur shogi, and we can see this one. It goes all the way down to level 10, whereas the pro one starts at 7, right? So again, I used to play shogi now and then, and the amateur shogi goes up to the 8th-Dan. So like I'm not actually sure how they compare. Like if you took Shogi Pro, for the professionals, their 8th-Dan, and the amateur 8th-Dan, would one be harder than the other, or would they be different, just different, or maybe they would be relatively equal? I'm not actually sure. But one thing that I am pretty sure about is that, let's say, okay, I don't know what the actual tests would be, even for the amateur one here. But if I were to, let's say I could get, I don't know, level 6 amateur shogi or something like that. I have no idea. I'm just saying it randomly. But I think even if I did that, it would not. I would need like a completely different recommendation, everything to become a pro. So I don't think that you can even apply for the pro one unless that is like your actual job or something. So it's just one thing. And then we have the same thing with ego, with go. You call it go in English, right? Go. Yeah, okay. Let's just say go anyway. So go, for the professionals, same sort of thing. This one, my understanding is it begins at the Shodan, at the 1st-Dan, and there's no level, so there's no EQ for it, level 1. So as we discussed with the previous video, you see, like if you had a okay, so the amateur go one right beside the pro one here. This one goes all the way down to level 30 in some cases, and it depends on who the governing body is. I saw there's some that go down to 25 instead of 30, but that's still a lot of levels. So if you know, I mean, I have not seen anything else still that has gone past 30. So in a weird way, I think it would be kind of cool to get the level 30 just because it's such a weird number to have for one of these tests. Like, oh, you can go fake bragging to people. I am a level 30 Go amateur player or whatever, right? And level 30 is, I guess, the lowest possible level here. So if you got it confused and you thought the higher number was the better one, it would sound like you're really good though. But again, I don't know exactly what we need to get these, but if there is one that somebody listening is interested in looking into in depth, let me know and we will dive into that. So amateur Go and amateur Shogi. Shogi level 10, amateur Go level 30. And if it's something completely doable, if we dive into it, I might see if my son and I can actually go and get something from this, just maybe to test it, whether we want to do it long term or not. All right, so after the professional levels of Shogi and Go, we are at top level is 8th-Dan for the amateur Go and Shogi. And then Kendo, shooting, Aikido, bayonet fencing. So this in Japanese, it's like called gun sword, the way of the gun sword, which sounds really cool. But I have looked into sport and it does not look like it's the most interesting sport that you could do. It doesn't look as interesting as regular Kendo, unfortunately. But it sounds really cool, the name anyway, in Japanese, gun sword, the way of the gun sword. And then there's Ei, that's the one where you sort of take the blade out very quickly, and you usually get like a slice on your hand when you're taking it out. And the Jodo, I guess that's the way of the staff. Um, all of these are level 8, or sorry, 8th-Dan is max. But if we scroll down and see their starting levels, we see that Kendo often begins at 8. Again, this is often different with the governing bodies. Shooting, this is both rifle and pistol shooting. I don't think shotgun shooting, so this is like Olympic shooting though, but I don't think the shotgun shooting uses the same system, but I'm not quite sure. This begins at level 5 and goes to 8th-Dan, but there's also, which I think we'll go over in the next video probably, there's also like beam pistol and beam rifle, which only go up to 6th-Dan, but they start at level 7 instead of level 5. So they're kind of related, but a little bit different. So the highest level isn't as good, and currently there's no beam rifle or beam pistol shooting in the Olympics, with the exception of actually the pentathlon, which I think is actually changing too in the next Olympics. So it's kind of confusing. But in the pentathlon, at least during the previous Summer Olympics, and for quite some time, they would run. They would do the running, and every, I think, 800 meters, they'd pick up a beam pistol and have to shoot 5 times at a target. So that's something. But this is the non-beam shooting. So this would be both air guns, which is different from airsoft, by the way, or like small bore, and so on. So it could be a firearm or an air rifle, but these shootings are up to 8th-Dan as well, starting at level 5. Aikido is also up to 8th-Dan, and this one also starts at level 5, as well as the bayonet fencing, the way of the gun sword, as we were talking about before. And I was actually looking at the way of the gun sword certifications earlier. They might have actually changed it so the level 5 to 1 may have recently been actually trashed. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it looks like as long as you continue practicing the sport for a certain number of years, then it's mostly based on age after that, whether or not they give you the next level up. So I mean, I don't think they have a large following in this sport, despite the really awesome name. So EI, where does this begin? EI apparently begins level 3, as well as the staff Jodo. So these both begin at level 3 and go to 8th-Dan. So I guess that's 11 levels. And then, so we had Shogi over here for pros, and then for amateurs, and then we have women's Shogi, which goes to 7th-Dan, and apparently starts at level 2. I'm not 100% sure that this information is correct either, because I looked into it a little bit, but maybe I should have looked into it more, because it looked like it's possible that there was more. Oh, sorry, I think it's off the screen actually. It's possible that there was more levels below here, but I did see that it goes to 7th-Dan as opposed to the amateur shogi, which goes to 8th-Dan, and the pro shogi, which goes to the 9th-Dan. So the woman shogi, and I think a lot of people do find it weird that sports like chess and shogi and whatnot they actually have separate women's leagues. But I remember the International Chess Association has a very similar thing where they have women's specific leagues, and the titles that you win in those leagues are they include like the word women, so that you can tell the difference between the regular league and the women's league. And I think the main reason for actually having that league, according to, I saw an interview with a um, a woman chess master, and she was saying that the reason that they had it in the first place was to encourage and increase women's participation, making it easier for them to get involved. And I assume that the Women's Shogi League was actually set up in the similar fashion. So that's the only event with 7th-Dan that I actually found, um, out of everything. There might be something else, but where 7th-Dan is like the top, that's the highest rank you can get. Normally, that's the only sport or certification that I saw that where 7th-Dan is the highest. Anyway, we can also compare, as with before, with some of the other types of things here, like Jujutsu Kaisen or the Kanji Kente, where things start and end. So, as before, if this is correct here, then the Women's Shogi level 2, level 1 would be not particularly impressive when compared to something like the Kanji Kente level 1, which is the highest level in that category. So again, depending on the category, where you start and where you end is entirely different. Like with this amateur ego, the amateur go category, we start at level 30. So if we were to go all the way up, and let's say that we went up to like level 16 or something, that would sound very unimpressive in most cases. But I mean, that is already quite a few levels going up, right? So, or like level 10, which in a lot of cases, level 10 is considered the bottom. Just as it is with the Kanji Kente, for example, level 10 is the bottom. So, uh, it's so if you said you had level 10 in amateur Go, that would sound like it's the bottom, but it's 20 levels up from the bottom. So, and it would be the bottom for amateur shogi though, apparently. So that's something. As before, this time we looked at the 9th-Dan, 8th-Dan, and 7th-Dan events, and as we can see, most of these are either martial arts of some kind or tabletop games of some kind. And when I say most of these, they might be all of these, depending on how what you consider a martial art. For example, shooting, is that a martial art or is it a sport? Because it is an Olympic sport, of course, but whether or not you consider it a martial art is, I guess up to the person. There are a lot of people who might not also consider things like EI a martial art or even Kendo because you use a weapon, whereas I think there's sort of an image where people, if they're doing martial arts, it's mostly just their body, their hands and their legs, right? But the whatever your definition is, either way, most of these would still be either tabletop games of some kind, Othello, Shogi, Go, right? Or martial arts like Taekwondo, Shaolin, and so on. Aikido, right? So that is something that I've noticed, whereas the most of the work-related or school-related, education-related certifications don't seem to go into the done levels that I've seen so far. But in the next video, I think we will go from 6th-Dan, maybe all the way down to Shodan, depending on how many different sports or events that we have. And I kind of colored these differently here because I think with a lot of these events, like shooting, for example, I have seen that, people who are 6th-Dan or above, so 6 to 8, are considered, this person can go to world events, maybe even the Olympics, and participate. Whereas 5 and below, like 1st Dan to 5th Dan would be like, okay, you're either uh, getting good or you're really good but not world class sort of placement, right? And then the below the dans, the levels here or grades or whatever you personally prefer to call them. Um, Again, there's I don't think there's any official translation across all different things. Like we have over here, Jujutsu Kaisen. They called them grade 1 sorcerer, grade 2 sorcerer, and so on, right? But in general, I call them levels most of the time just because I'll often compare them to like elementary school um, knowledge. So if you're saying you're in grade 1 elementary with which would be grade 10 kanji or whatever, or grade uh, 7 English or something like that, it gets confusing. So that's why I say level instead of grade in most cases. So that is some more rambling about the 9th, 8th, and 7th Dan events. So next we will go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and maybe 1st Dan. And then we'll go from there. And I think once we get into the non-Dan, the certifications without Dan, so the ones where level 1 is the top, I think we will see a lot more work-related or education-related things. But it's going to be interesting to see if we run into any in the next video as well, because none come to mind actually for like work-related or anything. But I know there are some 6th Dan sports and stuff. Anyway, please, if you enjoy this kind of rambling about ranking systems and that sort of thing, then please like, subscribe, and level up.